Hello, welcome to the Digital Citizenship Legal webinar. This presentation was created by Corinna Peters, Diane Werner, and Katie Petty. Just a brief overview of the different sections that we're going to talk about. We're going to start with the legal and ethical use of digital information and technology, including digital citizenship, what it is and why it's important to our students. We're going to talk about intellectual property and how to protect it. And we're going to finish talking about citing sources, including plagiarism, resources for teachers to detect plagiarism, and how to properly document our sources in our work that we do. All right, to begin with legal and ethical use of digital information, first of all, we have to have a good understanding of what digital citizenship means. It can be defined as the norms of appropriate, responsible behavior regarding technology use. For me, the key here is appropriate and responsible, because nowadays we all have access to the internet, but we're not all taught what we should do and shouldn't do, and we're not taught that there are laws governing the information on the internet today. So this is something we need to convey to our students and teach and model for them what's appropriate and how to act responsible using digital information. I'd like to show you a video now. It was created by a student, and it is on the Digitine website. If you go to digitine.ning.com, there are hundreds of student-made videos about digital citizenship. And this was, again, it's a student-made presentation about what digital citizenship is, how our students have access to that information, and how to protect it.
Digital citizenship is the way to behave on the internet, which can best be described by 9 elements: digital access, digital commerce, digital communication, digital literacy, digital etiquette, digital law, digital rights and responsibilities, digital health and wellness, and digital security. People do inappropriate things on the internet, and so that's why there are rules which you should follow in order to not get into serious trouble. My element is digital access. Digital access is the concept that you can get access to internet almost anywhere. Cafes, hotels, work, home, school, etc. And how you can get it on most handheld electronics. Phones, iPods, game consoles, etc. You can almost do anything on the internet, but that doesn't mean it's right. Many internet users abuse their privilege to have access to internet. The problem is that many people don't know that there are rules to what you do on the internet. For example, there are many downloading programs that are illegal, but still, many people use them without the knowledge of this, and then are at risk of being sent to jail or getting a major fine. Another example is the history of what you do on the internet. Most of the things you do on the internet are left behind and can be discovered later on. This is digital footprint. For example, in the future when you're applying for a job or school, they might search you on the internet and find out that you have provocative photos or bad web pages, and this could affect their opinion of you or even their decision, even though that it was a long time ago. Knowing about digital citizenship can really help you in the present and future. A solution to this is to make awareness and to inform people at a young age how to be a good digital citizen. People could make posters, digital posters, newspaper articles, etc. To raise awareness about digital citizenship, you don't only have to do it digitally. Plus, advertising it would make it more global, so that parents can know what digital citizenship is and make sure that their kids aren't doing anything bad, that they're going to have to end up paying for. Hopefully, this would teach younger digital citizens to only do appropriate things, which would be an advantage to them in the future. Then again, though, there's the problem with schools and workplaces blocking websites. Some websites may actually be useful for education, but they're blocked because they aren't directly related to what they're working on. There's a partial solution to this problem. You can go to the main operating place and ask them to unblock the website, but this just takes up a lot of time and hassle. To conclude, there are solutions to the problems we face in digital citizenship.
Okay, so that was a student presentation on Digiteen, and if you go to the website, it has photos, it's got opportunities to become members, and you can blog, and teens can blog with other teens about digital citizenship, and it's a really good resource to share with students, especially high school students. Okay, so that's just a brief overview of digital citizenship. So now we're going to talk more about the legal and ethical use of digital information. The ITSC has national educational standards called NETS for teachers, and the idea behind it is for teachers to promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility. Teachers are supposed to understand local and societal issues in an evolving digital culture and exhibit legal and ethical behavior in professional practices. So teachers need to put forth the effort to research what's going on in our students' worlds. Our students are digital natives. They get their news from the internet. They get their research from the internet, and we have to teach them how to responsibly use that information. The ISTE has several different categories for their national standards: creativity and innovation, communication and collaboration, research and information fluency, critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making, digital citizenship, which is our focus, and technology and operation concepts. More specifically, the NETs say teachers are supposed to advocate, model, and teach ethical use of digital information and technology, including respect for copyright, intellectual property, and the appropriate documentation of sources. And that is the focus of this webinar. We're going to be talking about copyright, intellectual property, and citing sources. The NETs also say that teachers are supposed to address the diverse needs of all learners by using learner-centered strategies and providing equal access to appropriate digital tools and resources. Teachers are supposed to promote and model digital etiquette and responsible social interactions related to the use of technology. And my one that I particularly like, our teachers are supposed to develop and model cultural understanding of global awareness by engaging with colleagues and students of other cultures using digital age communication and collaboration tools. A good example of this would be to use Skype or some other communication tool to have our students having conversations with students from other countries. For example, if you're studying the Italian Renaissance in a world history class and you are partnershiped with a school in Italy, our students can ask them questions about Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and the other people from that time period and get it from the Italian students' perspective, find out what they're learning in Italy. What a neat tool that is. So why should we care about legal and ethical use of digital information? Well, number one, we don't want to break the law. There are laws governing what you can and can't do on the internet and how you use information. And there are fines and jail time if you break those laws. We want to respect others' intellectual property, and in exchange, we want others to respect us and our creations. And we want to set a good example for our students. Because as Gandhi once said, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. The basics are that you need to know what you can and can't use. Fair use says that as long as you're using the research for education, parody, research, or news, you can use it. You just can't use it for profit or personal gain. You can't make money from it. You can't gain fame or notoriety from it. But for teachers, you can use information from the internet to teach your lessons or to help your students get a better understanding of the topic. There are copyright laws, and everything today is currently copyrighted under an all rights reserved copyright. It doesn't have to be stated anymore. Copyright is now just implied. For those people who want other people to use their work but still want to have some control over how it's used, there is the some rights reserved copyright. And I'm going to take us to creativecommons.org/licenses. This is a website that allows you to create your own copyright license based on how you want your work to be shared. So if you go to this website, creativecommons.org, it talks about the details of copyrights. At the bottom here, it lists some different customized copyrights that you can use for their work. For example, this first one, this license lets others distribute, remix, tweak, and build upon your work, even commercially, as long as they credit you for your contribution. Down at the bottom, the other side of the spectrum is this license is the most restrictive of our 6 licenses, only allowing others to download your works and share them with others as long as they credit you, but they can't change them in any way or use them commercially. And so there's 6 different levels of the some rights reserved copyrights that Creative Commons allows you to create. And what you do when you go to the website is you try out the simple license chooser. You bring this up and it will ask you a series of questions. Do you want to allow other people to use your work commercially? Yes or no? Do you want people to be able to modify your work? And where in the world are you located? Where is this going to apply to? And then if you give them some additional information, they can give you a better custom-made license. And so you fill in the URL of your work, the title, etc. And then you select the license that you want to choose, the restrictions that you want on your work. So this is a good tool for teachers who are creating works for other students, and also it's important for your students to know how you can and can't use information and what copyright means to begin with. Okay. There are lessons for teachers to use to teach about copyright laws. One really good website that I'd like to share is the readwritethink.org website. And what's really cool about readwritethink.org is it completely plans out the lesson for you to use in class. So if you go to the website, this particular one is about copyright infringement, is downloading music, the violation of the music industry's copyright laws. It gives you a preview. You can see down here what the theory behind it is. It gives you the national education standards. And you can align them to TEKS in language arts, probably in technology also. It lists the resources and preparation that it's going to take. It gives you copies of the printouts. It also lists the different websites you can use in the lessons. Tells you what preparation you're going to need. And then it gives you an instructional plan. This is my favorite part. It divides it into lessons, tells you what the objectives are, and it gives you instructions on how to teach the lesson. So for teachers who are not quite as familiar with the digital world, this is an extremely useful tool to use, and it's sponsored through ThinkFinity. Okay, on to intellectual property. What is intellectual property? Intellectual property, as defined by our government, is any innovation, commercial or artistic, or any unique name, symbol, logo, or design used commercially. It's your creativity. It's your ideas. Anything that you produce from your creative mind is intellectual property. Why is it important? Because if it is innovation. Intellectual property protection is so important because you are trying to foster that innovation and protect your creative works. If intellectual property protection did not exist, ideas would not be protected. Therefore, the creator would not receive the credit for their creation. Anyone could say that they created the work. You would get no credit for it at all. And in turn, cultural vitality would suffer. The creative process would suffer. There are some reasons why you should worry about protecting your intellectual property. IP theft poses a threat to all industry sectors. We see this most commonly in movies recently, and also music. Some of the other areas where it's affected are in manufacturing, consumer goods, technology, software, and biotechnology, including pharmaceuticals. And then also another type of intellectual property theft is piracy and counterfeiting of movies, music, or goods. Piracy and counterfeiting and theft of IP assets pose a serious threat to all American businesses. If you go to a movie theater and you pay money to see a movie, that movie is going to go back to the makers and producers and actors that took part in creating that movie. If you download it off the internet, off of a hacked website, then the movie industry is not receiving the benefits of their work, and that in turn hurts our economy. There are some ways you can protect your intellectual property. You can get a patent. Some different patents include utility patents, design patents, and plan patents. One of the easiest ways to protect it is to copyright your work, and again, you can use creativecommons.org to do that. You can use trade secrets, and according to the USPTO, intellectual property is the ownership of a dream, an idea, an improvement, or an emotion that we can touch, see, hear, and feel. And so it's important to protect that work. Remember, intellectual property is an asset. Your ideas, your creativity is something that you own, just like your home, your car, or your bank account. Just like other kinds of property, it needs to be protected from unauthorized use. Okay, we're going to move into the citing sources portion of the webinar. And before we go into citing sources, we're going to talk about plagiarism, what it is, and what teachers can do about it. Plagiarism is when you use someone else's work and you call it your own. When you use someone else's ideas, you have to provide a clear system of citation, giving them credit for their work and making it possible for people to track down the original source. And I've included the citation here so that you can see who the original author was. And if you wanted to read more about this definition of plagiarism, you could find the original work on the website that I got it from. So, plagiarism is common. I think it's common in schools, and teachers are constantly having to combat it. It's wrong because it's important to create your own work. That process of being creative is so important, and our students have less and less of it today because they have so much information that's easily accessible that they don't have to think of it on their own. You can still use ideas created by other people by providing proper citation throughout your work. Some resources for teachers to check for plagiarism. You go to the website and you copy and paste bits and pieces of your students' work, and it will instantly match up if they got it off the internet. And so I'm going to take you to the plagiarism checker that I use. It's called dustball.com plagiarism checker. And so what I would do is if my students emailed me work, I would pull up their work, I would copy and paste it into this frame right here, and then click check the paper. Or I could just upload the document from Word, and it will scan through the internet, and it will tell me if this student copied and pasted it from a website like Wikipedia or some newspaper article. It will pull it up, and I'll be able to tell. Lots of other different plagiarism checkers online. This is one that is free. There are others that you can pay for that are a little bit higher quality, but again, you have to pay for those. So it's important to cite your sources because it adds credibility to your work by demonstrating that you've sought out and considered a variety of resources. When you assign an essay or a research paper as a teacher, you're not doing it just to give students extra work. You're doing it because you want them to research that topic. And so by your students showing the sources that they used, you can tell that they put the time and effort into your work and that it's not just opinion-based, that it's fact-based, and they did the background work necessary for them to have a good understanding of the topic. And there's lots of different ways to teach about citing sources. BrainPop has a really good video. It's geared more towards middle school students, but it's going to take you to that website. And what's cool about this is you can use it with your students, high school or middle school. They also have a junior version for K through 3rd grade. And it's got the BrainPop video, but it's also got a quiz over citing sources, and I'm going to show you the activities section in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video so you can see the quality that BrainPop uses to explain citing sources.
Hey, Moby. Well, it's about this article you wrote for the school paper. You can't just say that the football team stinks this year, because that's an opinion. This is a newspaper, not a... I want facts. Did any letters to the editor come today? Dear Tim and Moby, I'm almost done with my report on the Cold War, but I still need to write a bibliography. Can you help me out? From Vigo. Sure. A bibliography is just a list of the sources you use to write your report. It comes at the end of a report on its own page, titled Bibliography. The first thing you should do is gather together all of your sources. Now, there are rules for what information needs to go into a bibliography, and the rules change depending on the type of source that you're citing. Let's start with books. This is how you would cite a book called The Cold War, written by David Hall and published in 1996 by U.S. History Press in New York.
Notice that you have to write the word print at the end. It shows that you're citing something you read in print instead of online.
Now, let's say there were 2 authors. List them alphabetically, like this. Notice how we indent any lines past the first one. That rule goes for any type of source. If there are more than 2 authors, we add this little bit. That's a Latin abbreviation meaning "and others." That's right. If for some reason there aren't any authors, or if you can't figure out who the author is, just don't cite one. One other thing, sometimes a book will have an editor instead of an author.
Most printed material follows these same rules.
Encyclopedias are cited like this.
The name of the article or entry appears in quotations before the name of the encyclopedia.
Magazine and newspaper citations look like this, with the date they came out.
Those numbers are the pages the article appeared on.
That's true. Lots of people use the internet as a resource for their papers.
There are many different styles for citing online sources, and which one you should use depends on the kind of page or website you're referencing. Lots of people ask us how to cite a BrainPop movie, so let's start with that as an example.
Here's how you'd cite the movie you're watching right now. The date in this website reference should be the day you accessed the page.
The ND abbreviation means there's no date of publication for this movie. Well, you have to list the name of the website and the publisher if it's known. Our website is called BrainPop, and it's produced by a company of the same name, so that's why you use it twice. But here's an example of when those 2 fields might be different. Let's say you wanted to reference a newspaper article you read online. NewYorkTimes.com is considered the name of the website, but the publisher is the New York Times.
Now, once you've cited all your sources, make sure they're in alphabetical order by author. Notice how the source with no author is listed alphabetically by its title. I know, there are a lot of little rules to writing a bibliography. And believe me, we've just scratched the surface here. You also may need to cite things like interviews, videotapes, TV shows, and CD-ROMs. All of these sources have their own rules. And when you go to high school or college, you may be required to cite your references on each page of your report, with footnotes or endnotes. Anyway, don't panic. It sounds a little confusing, but just knowing that there's a right way to do it is a step in the right direction. If you have any questions about how a source should be cited, just ask your teacher or librarian. Now go out and get me some news, you robot.
Okay, so now you can take the quiz, which is right here. You can read more about the topic. You can try the activity, and you can do the questions and answers. I'll show you the activity. This is printable, and it just asks you to describe the terms in your own word. And so this is something that can help you. This is geared towards later elementary school and middle school students. But it's a really good tool for teachers to be able to teach their students about citing sources and how to do it. And there's lots of other really good websites that talk about citing sources and why it's important. I personally use Citation Machine to generate the citations for me. There's many similar websites that can help you with MLA or APA citations, or you can use the text version that you can order through Amazon.com. And so if you go to Citation Machine, which is the one I use, it's citationmachine.net, and it'll give you the option to either do the citation in MLA or APA. You have to have the other information for your citation handy. You'll need the author, the date it was published, the website. You'll need the web address, the URL, and that's pretty standard for any of the different websites that you use. And so I'm going to get Citation Machine up so that I can show you. And you can do any type of citation with Citation Machine. Blogs, web addresses, it takes you through all the different ones from print, as well as all of the different ones that are online journals, and again, it takes you all the way down through how you would cite a blog or even a video on YouTube. And so it's a valuable resource for students. I use it as a teacher and as a student, and it will show you how to do the resources on your web page, as well as how to, not on your webpage, it'll show you how to do the resources on your article, on your bibliography, as well as in your text. And so I am going to just reload this so that I can show you. Okay, here is citationmachine.net, and I'm going to go into the APA 6th edition to show you how you can enter your information in, and it will give you a pre-made or generated tool to use in your citations. And so it's loading here, and you can use all of these different paper or print citation generators, books, journal articles, magazine articles, and if you scroll down, these are the ones I use the most, are all of the non-print electronic citation generators. And so I use the web page one a lot. I'm going to take you to that. By clicking on it, it will bring up this page, and what you do, if it's just one author, you enter the last name of the author and their first initial. If it's more than one author, you would click this and do the same thing. Then you would enter the year it was published, the month it was published, and the date, and then the title of the document and the URL. And then you just type on Make Citation. Takes a second, and it will generate it for you. So then all you have to do to create your bibliography is you highlight the text, you copy and paste it. So I would just click copy here, and then I would go into my document, and I would paste it, and I'm going to show you how I would do that on website. I would just paste it into a works cited or bibliography page. And so mine is working here. I'm just going to paste it right onto the next page so that you can see what that would look like. And there's my citation. Of course, generally you don't have a bullet, but that's all you have to do. And then you would take this citation and put it into the text, the actual text of the document you're working on. And it has all of these different forms, and you can do APA, you can do MLA, or you can do Turbian or Chicago formatting. So it has a lot of flexibility. And there are other websites that offer the same functionality. You can also generate it in a PDF format if you need to. So that's a really resourceful tool for both teachers and students, but I think students would need to be walked through this process and taught how to find the information. Like if they're using a website, they would need to be taught how to find the author, how to find the date it was published, and then walked through the steps of putting it into a citation generator like this one on Citation Machine. Well, I hope you enjoyed the webinar today